So you want to be a leader, and maybe you're afraid that you have to be like one or other of those leaders in order to be promoted or to get the job. Most people that are in leadership roles aren't trained in leadership skills, communication skills. Facilitation can feel like you're giving away your power. It's actually the most effective leadership skill. Welcome to the She Speaks to Inspire podcast. I'm your host, Julia Kraft, your authentic expression mentor and public speaking coach. So let's dive in. So you want to be a leader. You want to be seen as a leader. You want to get promoted. You want to have more leadership presence, but perhaps you're also introverted. Maybe a little shy, tend to be quiet. You prefer to be in the background, don't want the spotlight on you. I see you and I hear you and I relate to that. I have some good news for you today about what being a good leader really means. Who do you think of as a good leader? Who in your life or that you know of would you say is a good leader and has excellent leadership presence, is excellent at communicating as a leader? Think of somebody that you can emulate. Today we're talking about how great leaders facilitate instead of dominate. A lot of times my introverted women out there that I work with that talk to me, they're worried about being in charge and imposter syndrome comes in. Like, who am I to make decisions or take a stand? Hopefully today's episode will help you be more comfortable with that. There are plenty of leaders out there that dominate the room. They do tend to be more of the extroverts, right? And to totally generalize, they can also be more the male leaders. Perhaps you've had a manager, a leader, or somebody in your company speak over you, interrupt you, make decisions without input or without guidance or against your guidance. It can feel like internal politics are playing out. On the other side of the spectrum, there's leaders that sort of just let everybody figure it out on their own. And it can feel like utter chaos. Meetings are run where there's no sense of time and one person ends up dominating the conversation, maybe that extroverted guy. And maybe you're afraid that you have to be like one or other of those leaders in order to be promoted or to get the job. You thought that that's what's required of you to be seen as a leader. I don't think that's true, and we'll talk about it today. I think the main reason why there's those two different kinds of leaders out there in the world that dominate or don't have any kind of structure, and so there's just chaos, because most people that are in leadership roles aren't trained in leadership skills, communication skills, or facilitation skills. What are they trained in? Well, they're trained in their subject matter expertise. And often they're promoted internally within their company or within the industry, just over time, through the years. Also, with new leaders, I notice they really feel like they want to be in control and be taken seriously, and facilitation can feel like you're giving away your power. So it's counterintuitive that it's actually the most effective leadership skill. Also, you might be used to being in the weeds, thinking about the details, thinking about the complex options, and working on your own, getting things done on your own. So the big picture view of the communication situation is not your habitual way of thinking. What I want to nudge you towards is the art of facilitation. What is facilitation? Facilitation is all about creating a container within which other people can go through an experience or go on a journey. Specifically, the journey that they're going on is from where they are, which often has some sort of challenge, problem, pain point, to where they want to be, which is more pleasurable, more successful, working towards some sort of goal. So the journey you're going on with them within this container is a journey of transformation, which, by the way, is what coaching is about. As a coach, I learned very early on that I'm creating a container to help people go from where they are to something new they might not even have thought was possible. I'm creating a container for transformation. My job within that container has nothing to do with fixing anything or being the smartest person in the room, knowing everything. Absolutely not. My job in that container is to facilitate, to nudge and guide and hold the bigger intention for this journey. That right there might change your view of leadership. It's a way to be in charge while championing others, while throwing the spotlight on others. So you as an introverted woman might love this. You might want to really lean into it. In fact, a lot of the biggest companies in our world have introverts as their CEOs. Think of like Steve Jobs. Perfect example of a techie introvert that found a way to facilitate other people to create his vision. So let's talk about 3 things that you're going to do to facilitate more and dominate less. Number 1, this is so important. It's so simple, but it's so important. Talk less and listen more. Talk less and listen more. In my coaching sessions with my clients, or when I'm facilitating a workshop, I ask a lot of questions, which is the next thing we're going to get to. And I really listen to the answers. The listening is the key to my ability to facilitate well. The more closely I listen, then I know exactly what the next step is that we need to take. This is all an improvisation, right? It's impromptu. Even though I know where we're going, like I have that container, I have the sense of direction, but we're improvising together. The second thing, like I already mentioned, is ask more questions. Ask lots of questions and ask better questions. Have you ever noticed that the person that's asking the questions in a conversation actually is the one in charge? They're the leader because they're guiding the conversation in a particular direction. How you ask your questions is the direction that the conversation will go. The art of asking questions is a huge topic. I should do another podcast episode on asking questions because it's so nuanced. It's such an art that you can really master. And in fact, it's the art that we learn as coaches. So I would recommend leaning into the skill of coaching when you are growing your leadership skills. The last thing, which is super important, is provide structure. Like I said, create a container. And then throughout the time that you have, enforce the structure. Enforce might feel like a strong word, but it's like, I want you to hold it. Don't let it go. Don't let it get nebulous. Like, be firm with the structure. What do I mean by structure? Structure can be as simple as, well, we have 5 minutes to talk about this. The time creates a structure. We have a 60-minute meeting. The time frame creates a structure. But also within the time frame, how are you going to break it down? Well, the first 5 minutes, we're going to do this. The second 10 minutes, this is what we're doing. Each person's going to have 1 minute to share their thoughts. You see how you break down the time really clearly, and then you enforce that. You hold it. Enforcing the structure might also mean sometimes interrupting people. I know, but interrupting people gracefully, respectfully, often with questions, is the most effective leadership quality. Someone gets going about something and they're going off topic and over time. You might jump in and say, how can you find a conclusion to that thought? Gentle, respectful, inviting, but also clear. This is the art of boundary setting, which is a whole other topic. I think I have a podcast episode or 2 about boundary setting. Great topic for communication skills. And that's what facilitation is about, right? I'm holding this container to guide us in the direction that we agreed on. To recap, facilitation is all about talking less and listening more, asking more questions and better questions, and then providing structure and enforcing that structure. The art of facilitation is truly an art that you can study and study and study and get better at forever, because every group and every interaction will be different and bring up new challenges. It's what I love about being a coach and a trainer. Every time I get into a room with a group, I learn something new. Approach it with that kind of beginner's mindset, and you'll always be improving. I hope today's episode has helped you reframe the idea of what a good leader is. And even as an introvert, even as a quiet woman that likes to be in the background, you can be an effective leader through facilitation. Thanks for listening. This has been She Speaks to Inspire with Julia Kraft, your authentic expression mentor and public speaking coach. I'm so glad you joined me. and I hope you got so much out of this episode. If you want to learn more about Speak to Inspire training programs and get inspired, head over to speaktoinspire.com or follow us on Instagram at She Speaks to Inspire. Never forget, the world needs your voice, and it's time for you to speak to inspire. See you on the next episode.